Ghostly apparitions, creepy arrests, mysterious voices, and horrifying sounds echoing through the Appalachian Mountains. These are 10 terrifying things recorded on police body cams. When 2 officers searched the Watts family home in 2018, just after Shannon and her daughters were believed to be missing, some strange things were captured. Now, most of us are aware of the case itself. I'm not going to go into detail on it here. For those who are unfamiliar though, a man named Christopher Watts took the lives of his wife Shannon and his 2 daughters. At this point in the investigation though, I believe authorities didn't know that they were dead. All they knew for sure is that they were missing. This police body cam footage has become pretty infamous though. There are a few eerie things that happened here. While investigating the upper floor of the home, the 2 officers hear this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a child's voice saying "Mommy, please," followed by a giggle. Now, what really sticks out about this audio, it's not the case of viewers overanalyzing. The officers heard the sounds at the time. They both comment on it.
I heard it.
Did you hear it?
I did.
It sounded like a kid giggling or something, didn't it? Or a kid.
It did.
And this was also picked up.
That's interesting.
And this. Despite doing so many ghost videos on this channel, I'm generally pretty skeptical about this sort of thing, but I, as well as a lot of people who watch this footage, seem to find it genuinely strange.
Parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
That clip comes from police body cam footage captured during the arrest of a young man named Brian Cohee. It is some of the creepiest police body cam footage ever released. Now, in February of 2021, a deeply disturbing case unfolded in Grand Junction, Colorado. Brian Cohee was a troubled kid from the start. He never really fit in with the kids around him, and the way he dealt with that was by becoming obsessed with some of history's most violent criminals. His classmates actually nicknamed him Dahmer, and not in a joking way. At some point, reading about these guys was not enough anymore. He started hurting animals, and eventually that wasn't enough either. Now, Warren Barnes was a completely different kind of person. 69 years old, homeless, genuinely beloved by his community though. Barnes had a very different nickname, the Reading Man, because you'd always find him outside with a book. And by all accounts, he was a good-natured man. On a cold night in February 2021, Cohee was driving around looking for a victim. He spotted Warren sleeping near some railway tracks, and he attacked him. A few days later, his mom was cleaning his room when she noticed a smell coming from the closet. She found a container, and inside it, a double-bagged plastic bag crawling with maggots. She couldn't bring herself to open the second bag, so she called 911. Officers approached Cohee and casually asked what his parents might have found in his room, and without missing a beat, he told them he was the one who took Barnes's life. He'd been reported missing a couple days before. Throughout the interrogations and court proceedings, there was never any hint of remorse or emotion in his voice. Brian Cohee is now serving life in prison without parole. A suspected burglary at a home brought 2 police officers to the scene on November 22nd, 2021. What they found wasn't an intruder at all, at least not a living one. One of the homeowners called the cops when she came home to find the door wide open. Her husband and kids were out of town, so clearly someone had broken in. The cops went in to investigate. Things start off pretty normal, but it doesn't take long for things to get strange. While scanning a room with his flashlight, one officer hears a sudden thump coming from the bathroom. He opens the door, only to find the room is completely empty. Things get even creepier when he makes his way upstairs.
Police! Anyone inside, make yourself known.
So a door slowly swings open, seemingly on its own. The officer moves into the room, and when you know it, not a soul inside. At this point, the officer's pretty shaken up, but with every room on the second floor cleared, and his partner having cleared the first floor, he begins making his way down the stairs, only to hear
Downstairs, clear.
It sounded like someone ran up behind him and began bolting down the stairs, but clearly there's nobody there. In March 2015 in Spanish Fork, Utah, a fisherman spotted an overturned car in an icy river and called it in. Officers arrived expecting the worst, and honestly, it was the worst. The car had gone off a bridge the night before, flipped into the river, and had been sitting there for nearly 14 hours. Inside, they found 25-year-old Lynn Grosbeck in the front seat. She didn't make it, but then they heard something. Someone said, "Help me," inside that car, Officer Tyler Beddoes said afterward. Thing is, the only other person in that car was too young to say words and was unconscious. They didn't even know she was there at first. Fortunately, she was saved. But the question is, who called out for help though? Officer Jared Warner said, "It wasn't just in our heads. To me, it was plain as day. I remember hearing a voice that didn't sound like a child, just saying, 'Help me.' Multiple officers heard it. Nobody's ever been able to explain it." They flipped the car over and found young Lily in the back seat, dangling upside down in her car seat, unconscious. And again, it was freezing cold outside and the car had been there for 14 hours. A firefighter jumped into the river, cut the car seat straps, and the officers formed a human chain in the water, passing Lily from one person to the next until she reached the riverbank and emergency crews. 2 days later, she was in stable condition. Beddoes reflected on it afterward, saying, quote, "Knowing that she was trapped in there for 14 hours, the cold water running through the car just blows me away. It's a miracle." This officer was on patrol somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains when he heard a loud noise coming from the woods. He pulled over to investigate, and this is what was captured.
Starting to regret that I stopped at this.
I'd be getting back in that car. Paranormal or not, I don't want to come face to face with whatever's making a sound like that. This body cam footage comes out of Brazil. There's not a lot of information on this video, but apparently police were carrying out an operation at an abandoned hospital. Things get pretty weird. For starters, observe this door.
Caralho, bicho, que é isso, mano? Cuidado, Judá.
It just continues violently opening and closing like that, completely on its own.
Caralho, mano, que é isso, bicho?
Now, I don't speak Portuguese, so I have no idea what they're saying. I imagine it's something like, "What the hell is going on with that door? Why are we here? Can we leave?" Well, they do leave. When they hear something suddenly smash.
Vai, mano.
On the night of September 14th, 2003, a security manager on duty at the Wingate Hotel in Illinois began receiving calls at the front desk. Multiple guests were complaining about loud screaming echoing from room 209. This was not an isolated incident. Over the years, that particular room had built up a reputation for strange disturbances, with tons of reports of unexplained noises. Security guard John made his way down the hall toward room 209. The screaming was audible even from outside the door. He was understandably baffled when his boss radioed him over the walkie-talkie, saying that no one was registered to that room that night. Concerned that something was seriously wrong, John was told to hold his position and wait for police to arrive. He waited long before deciding to peek inside. Carefully, he stepped into the room and found absolutely nothing. The screaming had stopped completely. The room was silent. But it wasn't undisturbed. The furniture had all been flipped upside down. The carpet had been torn up from the floor, and the shower was running on its own. And then, shortly after John enters the room, something else appears. Something that does show up on the security camera footage. Take a look. All right, so after some of the stuff we've seen so far, let's lighten the mood a little. This next video shows police arresting a clown. Not a dude acting like a clown, I mean a guy literally dressed in a clown outfit. Ronald McDonald, to be exact. Of course, this happened in Florida. Palm Bay police got a call about a trespasser at a shopping center off Interchange Drive. Now, this guy had already been banned from the area before. He knew he wasn't supposed to be there, but he showed up anyway. And when the officer spots him and tells him that he's under arrest, the guy does not go quietly. He pulls away, he's resisting, cursing at the officer, and at one point, while he's being pinned to the ground, the officer pulls out what appears to be a flare gun from his pocket and tosses it aside. What was he going to do with that? Not sure I want to know. They also found cigarettes, extra clown clothing, and an entire box full of spare clown noses. This next story is much heavier, but still has a happy ending. What police walked into, though, absolutely horrifying. August 2023, Louisville, Kentucky. Neighbors called 911 because he could hear a woman screaming from the second floor of a nearby house. Officers show up expecting maybe a domestic dispute, and that was technically true, but domestic dispute is putting it very lightly. The entire first floor had been barricaded. Doors were blocked, windows were secured. Whoever did this did not want anyone getting in or out. So, officers grabbed a ladder, climbed up to a second floor window, and climbed in that way. What they found inside has been called one of the most shocking body cam rescues released that year. There was a woman in the room crying and shaking. She had a heavy metal chain locked around her neck, bolted directly into the floor. An officer picked up a hatchet and broke the chain free from the floor, and emergency crews removed the rest of it from around her neck. According to the arrest report, her boyfriend had attacked her during an argument, cut off parts of her hair, threatened her, and then chained her up and locked her in that room. He was later arrested, but the scariest part of this whole thing is how close it came to going the other way. I mean, if those neighbors hadn't heard her screaming and picked up the phone, it's hard not to think about what might have happened next. This police body cam footage first started making the rounds online in May of 2021. Filmed in Seattle, it quickly went viral after people saw this woman wandering through traffic in the middle of the day. She was limping, her hair uneven with sections missing, and dark stains covered parts of her face and body. Understandably concerned, people called the police. When officers arrived and attempted to help her, she got combative, repeatedly shouting that she didn't want to go to the hospital. Officers eventually restrained her and secured her to a stretcher, but she continued struggling and yelling. At the time, police never released an explanation for what had happened. Because the footage spread online without any real context, though, people started creating their own theories about what was going on. Later, posts circulating online claimed the woman had used makeup to create the appearance as part of this anti-vaccine protest. But aside from reports that she was taken to a hospital and received treatment, very little's ever been confirmed. That has been the video. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next one.